Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with the start of my Book 3 Change episode commentaries. This one's going to be the commentary for K301, A Breath of Fresh Air. But before we get into the commentary, I'm just going to explain, I suppose, just what I'm doing here this season, and also more in depth on how you actually sync up this audio commentary track with your copy of the episode. So, first and foremost, the reason I don't, Korra has come to an end. Book 4 has ended, and the reason I don't have Book 3 commentary tracks out already is because Book 3 and 4 aired so close together that there was no way I was going to be able to get 13 videos out for the episode commentaries in the couple of weeks between Book 3 and 4. So now the course come to an end. I don't have as much coverage to do on the side and stuff like that, so I can really focus a lot of my attention to doing these videos. And these episode commentaries for Book 3 and then going straight into Book 4, definitely going to be one of the biggest ongoing series on my channel for the next couple of weeks. These videos aren't that difficult for me to do, so I can get them out fairly quickly, so you'll be seeing these fairly regularly over the course of the next couple of weeks. Shouldn't take me that long to get through the last two seasons of Korra, even though it will be 26 videos. So that's that whole thing. And what my commentaries, in case you haven't listened to any of them before, I've done them for Book 1, I've done them for Book 2, and I've done them for a lot of the Avatar The Last Airbender episodes. I basically just give my perspective on the episode as I'm watching it, from my perspective as a fan. So obviously I can't give you the kind of crew stories that Mike and Brian can do, but I can point out the key moments of each episode that are good, that lead to character things, continuity moments, stuff like that. That's the sort of thing you'll be getting from me. That's the sort of thing that you get from most fan commentaries. Just an analysis of the actual content that we see, rather than kind of out-of-universe, kind of behind-the-scenes thing that the creators give us. So that's the whole point of these, that it's kind of something I feel that is a little bit missing from the official commentaries that we get. Just they are super focused on telling stories rather than actually focusing on the story being told on screen. So that's what these are about. I'm going to make it very clear right now, the reason I can't put the videos up on YouTube of the episodes themselves, why it's just audio, is because of copyright reasons. I don't want to get my channel taken down from YouTube, because I use it for other things, not just these episode commentaries. I don't want to get my channel taken down just because you guys really feel that you want the episodes on these. If I could put the episodes up without fear of my channel getting taken down, I would, but unfortunately Nick Paramount are super kind of crazy when it comes to this stuff, and I know that the second I put an episode up on YouTube, my channel's going to get taken down pretty much. So I want to avoid that altogether, so I just put the audio up. So you may be wondering, how on earth do you sync up this audio commentary track with the episode? Quite simply, the way I do it is that I'll tell you at the start of every individual commentary what exactly I'm doing. But for the most part, the way it's going to work is that I'm going to start my version of the episode. It's going to include the opening kind of title sequence to Avatar The Legend of Korra, which is obviously the Avatars doing the element thing with fire, earth, air, water. Tenzin gives his little line, and then we go straight into the episode. So it's going to include that bit. It's not going to just start with the opening scene of the episode. So make sure that on your version of the episode you have that ready to go. So in this case, K301, A Breath of Fresh Air, the version of the episode that I'm using does indeed have the opening title for The Legend of Korra on it. So have your episode ready to go at the start, ready to press play, and then for opening seconds are going to be, you see Kyoshi and you see the other avatars for the intro of The Legend of Korra. So once you have that ready to go, ready to press play and start with that, I'm going to stop speaking in a minute. And then when I come back after the pause, that's when you hit play, because then it'll be into my commentary track. I will have hit play, and you just hit play at the same time, and you'll be synced up with me. So that's how it works. So I'm going to stop speaking basically as soon as I finish this sentence, and when I start speaking once again, you hit play, you'll be synced up with me completely. So I'm stopping speaking. Okay, so here we are with K301, A Breath of Fresh Air, the opening episode of Book 3 Change, third book of Korra. Overall, I'd say Book 3 is probably the book of Korra I have probably the biggest issues with. I'm not saying that it's the worst because of that. I'm just saying it's the book that I can think of and straight away go, boom, bullet point. That is probably the biggest bullet point in the negative column that I have about any book of Korra. And I'll say it straight away. The problem is that 3 out of the 4 villains in the book are not really characterized at all. We don't know who Pili is. We don't know who Gazan is. We don't know who Minghua is. Zahir is characterized reasonably well over the course of the book, but those 3 characters are purely based around their powers. We don't really know them as people. I'll discuss the little scenes here and there that we get with them as we go along, but for now let's focus on A Breath of Fresh Air. The title's interesting, I think, as well, just because it really fits in with, if you actually interpreted it the way that it actually is, you would have known straight away, even before the book aired, what was actually going on here. A breath of fresh air. New, fresh airbenders in the world, and we see that straight away in this opening scene here, with Boomy obviously revealing that he has become an airbender, and obviously he's the eldest of the Katang siblings, and he's been a non-bender as far as we've known him since his introduction in book 1, and then going into book 2 where you got to know him a bit more. And for him at such an old age to become an airbender is an interesting concept, and you're kind of wondering, like, okay, he's the non-bender of Aang's kids. Does it mean a lot that he's become an airbender, or is this going to be a thing with more characters? You can definitely take it either way. Is it just specific, like, oh, he's just a late bloomer as a bender because he comes from bending parents, or what? Yeah, then we cut to this scene with Korra here, frustrated with the spiritual stuff in the city. And we see straight away that Jinora is very spiritual and is a lot more kind of, I suppose, comfortable with spirituality than Korra is. And despite all of the progress that Korra's made in book 2, she still isn't the most in tune with the spirit world, in that obviously she tries to get the vines away here, but they kind of stick around, and it's something you basically realize as we kind of go to the remaining 2 books, that the vines are this kind of constant thing, that they stay there, they're full of energy, they allow the spirits to really create a habitat there. And yeah, basically because of the aftermath of book 2, Republic City is just kind of overrun with spirit vines, and there's spirits all over the place. Apparently, I suppose ultimately this is probably one of my biggest complaints with Korra as a series, that the spirits just were not handled that well after the perfect setup at the end of book 2. That they're in the world, they're there, they're in Republic City now, is established, and you just don't get a lot about it. Especially this book, Book 3 Change. I think a lot of people went into it after Book 2 Spirits, hoping, expecting a lot of spirit focus. And instead of spirits, we get new airbenders. And that works, but at the same time, where are the spirits? A lot of people ask that question over the course of this whole book. And I do think it is a negative with this book. I think it's a negative with book 4 as well, where again it's brought up and not really addressed too much. But, it's not awful, I think. 8% approval rating. Yep. That was basically, that also known as the fandom's approval rating for Nickelodeon, is probably around 8% as well at this point in time. And yeah, you see Korra kind of lacking direction right now. She doesn't really know what to do. She's the Avatar. She thinks she should be able to do so much, but right now she just really doesn't have any ideas. And she obviously says that to Asami there. And obviously another thing with me doing book 3 commentaries at this point in time with the series over is that we know Korra Asami happens. So let's actually, along the course of this series, I'm going to go through all of the book 3 and book 4 episodes. Let's really address Korra Asami scenes as they come up. For me, that first scene between them, there wasn't a Korra Asami romantic moment there. It was just friends, talking to me. That's the way I interpret that scene. And straight away they don't believe Boomy, which is a pretty cool thing that they establish here, that he always tells these crazy stories and no one believes any of those stories, so why would they believe you've suddenly become an airbender as well? So that's pretty cool. And yeah, we also find out that Mako and Bolin are living on the island. Well, I suppose Bolin is living on the island, but Mako is kind of living in the Republic City Police office where he works. Um, so yeah, this is just establishing kind of where Team Avatar is over the course of the book right now. That Mako is kind of keeping his distance from the girls because of all the relationship drama from last season. But Bolin is actually happily accepting the chance to live on Air Temple Island, while obviously the Unavatu basically destroyed where he was living in the pro bending gym and stuff like that. And yeah, then we eventually get the reveal here that everyone does eventually believe that Boomy is an airbender when Milo does this amazing thing, just hurling the plate at him, and he gets it. And the reactions here from all the characters are just really well done, I think, here. Just everyone's shocked. Like, it's one of those screenshot moments where you just, like, what you get from the scene is just everyone's shocked, but the specific face that every character has in the scene is amazing. It's really well done. And yeah, from there we get where Mako actually is. He's obviously basically sleeping under his desk at work, and as we later find out, it's staying away from the girls because of all the drama and stuff like that. He's got a sleeping bag under his desk. Yeah, that's kind of how apart he feels from the rest of Team Avatar, which is an interesting way to take Mako, and I suppose it's something that the creators definitely felt like they needed to do after book 2, where he was very criticized for everything he did in the book, even if not all of it was his fault. And Mako ends up being a character who I think really suffers heavily from the way he was written in the book. Like, I think there's so much potential with this character, but just the way they took him and how they based so much of his arc around relationships, and then the way after book 2 they kind of just really changed their approach to relationships. We're like, okay, people aren't liking this, we're just gonna take away all those relationships and start with all these new ones. And they almost write Mako in a way where in universe everyone hates him for what he's done, when in reality the girls don't really have much issue with what happened. They're all past it, but he isn't. It's really weird. It's almost as if like the creators are like forcing Mako in universe to atone for the writing mistakes they made out of universe. It's a really weird thing that they did with Mako over the course of the book. And yeah, that's basically it. That's the explanation that they gave over the course of the whole book, is that harmonic convergence, to basically balance out the world, created more airbenders. Which I suppose makes sense in that it is this moment that created the Avatar. It's this moment where the fate of the world is fought for between light and dark. Harmonic convergence, what would a way to bring harmony back to the world and kind of leveling the playing field a bit more between all the different types of bending. There's only a couple of airbenders, Tenzin's family and Korra. It creates more airbenders. And obviously Mako's been hearing reports of other airbenders, so straight away we find out it's not specific to Boomy, that there are airbenders all over the place potentially. And here's the first hint of Mako and Mako's awkwardness around the girls, here trying to be too formal with them, and they're like, what's going on? And she's kind of past it, she doesn't have any issue with him, but he has the issue himself and kind of wants to stay away from them. So it ends up being this kind of subtle character arc for him over the course of the whole book, as he gradually becomes more and more kind of he feels a lot better in the book, being around people, and begins to come back into being part of Team Avatar again, I suppose. It's super subtle and it really isn't addressed at all that much. And here's this scene, obviously, basically Korra learning to drive once again from Asami, and I suppose it's playing back up with their kind of introduction scene between the two, pretty much. Not quite their introduction scene, but their first kind of positive scene together, where they just kind of where they've just established that they could be friends. this scene I definitely take more as just establishing that the two girls don't have any issues with each other because of the whole relationship drama stuff from the last book. So it's just a kind of thing where they just kind of clear the air between them. I don't really see it as like specific Korra-Sami setup moments, and I think what Brian ultimately said in that post is so vague that it's going to lead a lot of fans to just interpret every scene in book 3 and 4 between the two characters as Korra-Sami. So it's it's interesting. Like, I'm not saying that Korra-Sami doesn't have any setup and that there's no setup in book 3, but and a lot of people obviously say that I've never had a girlfriend to talk to before. A lot of people are taking that now as shipping scene, when really, based on what she actually says, apart from the word girlfriend, it's very much to say this is the first friend Korra has had who is a girl, and of course it later develops into a relationship, but right now I don't really see it as relationship stuff. And that's not a negative, it's just that I take this more as friendship, and I take a lot of the scenes between the two of them in book 3 definitely as set up for their friendship more so than their romance. I think I would almost say that most of their romance moments take place in book 4. I definitely think that the kind of 3-year gap really kind of helped them both to maybe kind of sort out how they felt about each other, and so the kind of reunion, and then from then on really more establishes their romantic relationship more than anything. So there we get that. This is actually a really nice scene here between Tenzin and his kids, because it's just one, now that they know that there are going to be more airbenders in the world, it's just, you kind of have this kind of clearing of the air, like, what does that mean for us as the kind of remaining kind of master airbenders, the remaining kind of original airbenders? What does more people like us being in the world mean? And Tenzin is just overcome with emotion that he's alive when this is actually happening. It's not just his family who are airbenders now, but there's more people. They're going to be able to train more people, and him and his kids are going to be very important going forward, because he won't be able to train everyone. The kids will also have to be important, and it's just establishing that they're all happy and hopeful about the future because there are more airbenders. It's a nice moment to have, definitely, and it makes the whole airbender coming back into the world plot so interesting over the course of this book. And now more Raiko. Obviously from book 2 you really begin to dislike this guy for just not making any decisions, not making any good decisions or bad decisions, just not making any decisions. And here he definitely comes to see Korra fail more than anything like that. He's there to kind of always catch a moment out where he can just kind of gain a political advantage or something like that. You really do feel like that's what Raiko is here for, just to see Korra fail. Book 4 helps him a lot, I think, just the fact that Raiko does begin to make some more decisions, that he does actually care about the city and want to protect things. But book 2 and 3 really don't help his cause. He just really comes across as like this guy who just wants, he's afraid of doing anything for the fear that he might do something that takes him out of power and kind of ruin his chances at the next election. Nice continuity there, Korra using her spirit bending technique there to try and take the vines away, and it works, but they come straight back. Now, obviously it's one of these things where the purification technique that Korra uses is more to kind of change dark spirits into light, or kind of just give light to spirits in general. So it's one of those things where, like, maybe she thought that the vines, because they came from Unavatu, are dark vines technically, so that would purify them away, but in reality what happened was that this is basically just spirit habitat in the physical world, and so they can't be purified away as if they're evil or anything like that. It's just they're there, and you can't really take them away that way. Really cool action. The Korra has some really cool action moments actually in this opening episode. Really cool earthbending moment there, just showing that how powerful Korra is, but also that, like, literally earthbending a whole top of a building is a hard thing for her to do, that she has to like literally like put all of her effort into getting it down to the ground safely. So yeah, it's just one of the things with Korra. She goes through actually a lot in this opening episode, and over the course of the whole book, definitely isn't the character who I'd say has the most character development. For me, I'd say book 1, 2, and 4, Korra definitely far and away has the most character development. But in book 3, I'd almost say that she has no character development. Like, apart from this opening episode establishing that she's going from not knowing what to do to wanting to actively help the airbenders kind of return to the world, she doesn't really have a lot of kind of other stuff going on. Obviously, she then decides to investigate the whole Red Lotus plot and take them down, but fundamentally her as a character doesn't change a lot this book, which for a show that's so focused on Korra, it's called The Legend of Korra, for a whole book to like just not have an arc with the character is interesting to me, in that like a lot of her kind of build over the course of this book is to build towards just her being in a position at the end where she's injured and you wonder where she's going in book 4 to set up that amazing arc in book 4. And a really great scene here between kind of master and student here, I suppose. And obviously the humour of Bolin realising that, oh, I interrupted an Avatar moment, didn't I? Sorry. Yeah, and that line for Korra is interesting. You know, she's Avatar wisdom is a thing of the past, and you know it's something they don't really like address too much. It's just really a line in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really mean a lot. But coming up here, definitely, I think probably one of Korra's strongest moments in this whole book. Just really showing that she's grown a lot from book 1 Korra. That book 1 Korra would have just gone straight up there, grabbed him, take him down, and wouldn't have really addressed the reason why he's up there. You just take him down from where he is. But here, Korra gets up there and tries to calm him down before she even tries to get him down. And I think that's very important growth for her character, that she's actively like realizing why the person is up there and kind of connecting with them. As she kind of learns in book 4 a lot about compassion, she really connects with this person in that, you know, he's going through changes, so is she as the Avatar, and she calms him down that way, but still can make the save if like an action moment is required, which she actually does. And yeah, just kind of establishing that he's an airbender. He may not want to be an airbender, but she can introduce him to people that can really help to make him understand the powers that he has. And, you know, interesting line right there. She can't take the bending way, and you know, it's one of those ones where like it's like, oh, I you know, there's no point in me taking your bending way right now. But the question, you wonder the question, can Korra even take people's bending way? If she can give people's bending back, as kind of established at the end of book 1 Air, why can't she take away people's bending? You know, because Aang obviously learned it from the Lion Turtles, but obviously Aang is kind of missing right now because of what happened at the end of book 2. So is that technique gone from Korra because she actually learned the ability to give people back bending in book 1? But it gets into a lot of technicalities, but it's I guess it's something, you know, it's not really too awkward, I suppose, because it was never established that Korra could take people's bending away. But this is Raiko's worst decision here as well, actually, that it comes up. The fact that he banishes Korra from the city for what? You know, like he I suppose he technically like banishes her for just, you know, she's arrived, all of these villains have kind of popped up, all of this bad stuff has happened, so he gets rid of her. But it's an awful decision because she's really one of the only people in the world who can in any way address these situations. She's one of the only people who's spiritual enough to actually like connect with spirits, understand what the vines actually are and stuff like that. And he banishes her because he thinks he can sort it out better. It's such a bad decision that makes no sense. It's just like awkward. But her not having to, I suppose, really be this bodyguard of the city allows her to just kind of realize what's the true goal at this stage, what she really needs to do, and that's, you know, airbenders are coming back. I've kind of made this happen. I should really kind of follow this and kind of bring it to its conclusion, really bring the airbenders back and help that in the training and stuff like that happen. So it's a nice goal overall for Korra to have. And then you get this final scene with the introduction of Zahir. And I really actually like the introduction of these villains as much as I have problems with where they go from here. Just the idea that they're all in these prisons. Like, obviously, Zahir's our non-bender. He's in the least descript prison, but it's still a pretty cool prison by itself. Like, with a connecting bridge and stuff like that, the Order of White Lotus guarding over him. But the other villains have amazing prisons, and you're just like, amazing setup for what this is about, because he seems so intelligent, but he kind of has this kind of mysterious way of talking, where he's like quoting airbender poets, Guru Lahima, and stuff like this. It's a really interesting idea for a character, because he kind of talks about expectations here, and, you know, as far as they know, he has no bending, but because of harmonic convergence, he knows he has bending. They haven't seen this, and he just reveals there and then he has airbending. And they could have definitely done a better job at establishing just that. This guy was a martial artist beforehand. That's why he has a general idea about airbending training. And yeah, you definitely pick that up just with meeting the guy and like getting to know him a bit better. But one line of dialogue just to say that, you know, he was a martial artist beforehand, as has been established in like episode commentaries by Mike and Brian, would have worked wonders. But a really amazing action scene here in such a small area, you know, like one wrong move and they're thrown off this cliff. But he effortlessly like takes them out, and rolls reversed, and he's going off, obviously off to free the rest of his members. And yeah, and he wants to end the White Lotus and the Avatar. For some reason, you know, the Order of White Lotus just kind of like drop out of the series at this point. You know, that he says in the same line, "End of the Order of White Lotus, end of the Avatar." Their end goal ends up just being the Avatar. The Order of White Lotus are kind of just like gone from the series after like the second or third episode. Like there are a few things throughout this whole kind of book 3, that just kind of like don't really go anywhere, and that's one of them. Just like the Order of White Lotus, like it's not like every one of them are defeated. It's just like they almost make a decision in the background that we don't see. That's just like, oh, they're way too powerful. We'll just not do anything from now. Like, especially with the way like the book ends, like with a huge battle with like the people of Zhaofu involved. You've got like Tonrock, Korra involved, and the Order of White Lotus don't even attempt to show up. It's really weird. But overall, I think, you know, this first episode is excellent. It does a really good job at kind of setting up what's going on in the book. You know, you've got your villains set up at the end. You've got kind of Korra's what Korra is going to be doing, and the main kind of, I suppose, other plot as well. Just with, okay, Korra's going to be investigating new airbenders returning. That's what a lot of the characters are going to be doing. While in the background, we're going to have set up for this whole Zahir Red Lotus plot. But overall, really good episode to start things off. Definitely in the comments let me know what your thoughts were on this opening episode. But yeah, that's been the episode commentary for K301, A Breath of Fresh Air. Thanks for listening, and bye.